welcome to, what is it? I know it's Monday, November 8th. I was going to say the first week of Monday, or first week of November, but actually, I guess we're starting the second week, aren't we? Welcome to all of y'all. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Welcome to the new gets dark in the middle of the afternoon kind of time period, right? I don't know if we're in daylight savings time or we just left daylight savings time. I don't know. All I know is that it's pitch black outside. God, it just gets dark so early. Kind of weird, but hey, it's dark outside, so welcome to all of y'all inside watching. No, you can be sitting out in the park bench somewhere watching this as well. And if you are, welcome and stay safe. Howdy to all of y'all. Let me start off with, this is episode 47. Can y'all believe that? Thank you for all of y'all who've been making the ride with me. Tuning in every week. For all of you newbies out there who are just now discovering the channel, thank you as well. I appreciate it. And for all of y'all who maybe aren't watching live but watching the repeats, I certainly appreciate y'all also. Everyone's welcome. What a great way to spend a Monday evening, right? So with that being said, SKD143, I love my wife, I love my kids, I love all the reality TV fans out there. I certainly love all of y'all that come out here every week and spend a little time with me. It makes Mondays a lot more fun, doesn't it? I know it does for me. I hope it does for y'all. So now I have a blast doing it. Let's see, who all do we have out here? Ma out here is coming in first. Howdy, Ma. Amanda as well. Yes, National Cappuccino Day. And we are going to talk about that because I love me some cappuccino. Alicia is out here again. Hey, welcome back. Jake's out here as well. Hey, Jake, how are you? Mandelo, Lindsay, Andy, W, TU, Brian Hostoner. Hey, Brian. Lori Lyon. Asking what happened with the Astros. Yeah, you know what? You win some, you lose some, and just wasn't the Astros' year. They fell apart in their batting a little bit, but that's all right. It's still kind of cool that they made it to the World Series. I grew up a Texas Rangers fan because I lived in Arlington, Texas area, or in Arlington, and so I grew up a Rangers fan, and they never even came close to making it to the World Series. So yeah, we didn't win this year. That's all right. I'm still happy that we have work. Hey, let me ask you a question. Is my microphone working, guys? Or are we having any issues with that? Because if so, I'm going to see if I can't fix it. Sounds, let's see. Microphone. All right, I think we're going to change it. Let's see. All right. Let us try this. All right. How's this, guys? Sound a little bit better? Little less echo? I hope so. I'm hoping. No, I think I had my microphone turned to the wrong one. So hopefully I'm not sounding like I'm in some kind of cave or a railway tunnel, which will segue into another little story here in just a little bit. All right, Ma's saying I can hear you, just sounds a little bit off. All right, well, I'll change it. So, all right, and everyone's saying much better. Well, thank you. I appreciate the input. Sometimes things work perfectly, just like the Houston Astros. Sometimes things work perfectly, sometimes not so much. You recover and you move on. So welcome to all of y'all. As mentioned, I always start off as people are coming in for the show and all that. A few little bits here and there before we start talking reality TV, Survivor, Big Brother, whatever you want to talk about. But today was kind of a cool one because indeed it is National Cappuccino Day. I don't know, it could be International Cappuccino Day for all I know. All I know is here in the Hog household, we're celebrating little cappuccino special day for it. Let's see. Janet wants to hear a shout out because I'm usually a replay viewer. Well, Janet, thank you so much. I've certainly seen your comments out there as well. Thank you for everything you do. So there you go. All right. Welcome, Janet. I'm glad you're out here. National Cappuccino Day. So with that in mind, a few stories. Now, first of all, I'm not the kind of guy, I don't go to Starbucks and order some kind of coffee order that takes 8 or 9 different labels and descriptions, and by the time you get done, they got your coffee fixed before you've even finished down all the different kinds of foams and matcha linos and syrups and shots of this, shots of that, and by the time it's just a milkshake with a little bit of coffee in it. Now, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm a guy that just likes a straight up old black coffee, maybe a little cream in there, and that's about it. That's the way I drank it inside the Big Brother house. And Lord knows I needed to drink some coffee while I was in there a few times just to stay awake and alert. Now, here's the story. I may have told on here, I
I assume people know it in the outside world that David did this, but if not, then I guess I'm giving you a little scoop. We had, I want to say it may be the day, one of the days of the HOH, right before David went out the door. When I got booted, we had the battle back. We fought our way back in. I think the competition right before that, which would have been the HOH before that, I believe. Anyway, David, no, I know it. It actually was the night of the HOH that I won with Patch Perfect. Jackson Mickey was a huge coffee drinker, as was I. Jackson really depended upon his coffee. Well, David decided to play a little prank on Mickey and myself, but he's primarily targeting Jackson, I think. He went and took the caffeinated coffee that we always use, switched it out for decaf, poured the decaf into the caffeinated can and vice versa. So we didn't know. Jackson fixed coffee that morning, starts drinking it, isn't getting the kick that he's expecting. He drank more coffee throughout that entire day, trying to get his little caffeine fix that he never could get because David had switched it out. And David told someone before he went out, because we heard later, I think maybe Kat told us the next day or two, said, yeah, David switched out your coffee. It was decaf. And I laughed about it. Jackson maybe a little more perturbed that he hadn't gotten his caffeine rush. But yeah, I love my just straight up non-fancy basic little coffee in the morning. But it is cappuccino day, so I wanted to tell a little bit of a special story about cappuccinos. And here it is. The very first time I ever drank cappuccino, I was in Milan, Italy, of all places. Yeah, sometimes I got to go to some fun, cool places as well. I had to fly to Milan. I was there for one day. I had a meeting with a big old oil company. But I flew in, got in super early in the morning. One of the local people picked me up, took me to the Milan train station because there was someone else coming from another part of the country we had to pick up. And so we sat there in just this kind of open air area at the train station, watching the trains come back and forth, and they brought out cappuccinos. And we just sat there all morning drinking cappuccinos, watching the trains go by, and just pretending like we were just local Italian people out for the morning. I wasn't wearing my hat, so maybe I fit in a little bit. Yeah, I didn't see a lot of cowboy hats while I was in Italy. But just sat there and drank cappuccino all morning. And a cappuccino, what was it? Espresso and then frothed milk on top. So good. I loved it. That's when I kind of fell in love with cappuccinos. And so when we go to Starbucks, if I'm feeling a little extra fancy, I'll order cappuccinos even today. But we did that meeting. We did that all morning long. Then I went over to the meeting itself. This company, who was it? E&I, I think was the name of the oil company over there. They had the world's fanciest coffee machine. And I say that because picture some of these vending machines that sell all the different kinds of soft drinks, right? You just push about 20 different buttons to get your different flavors. They had that, but they had it for coffee. You had a little wand that you would wave to pay for your coffee, and then you would push all the different buttons for all the different options you wanted. You would pour it into the middle, and you'd get a big old cup that you could then take in your meeting. The most phenomenal gadget that I've ever seen in my entire life. And the coffee was so good there. I've only been to Italy once, and it was only for one day, which was unfortunate because I would love to go back and visit that place a little bit more. It's such a cool place, such a cool country. All right, let me look at my comments before I go too much further. First of all, I saw my mom out there. Hey, Mom, how are you doing? I was going to tell a story about my mom here in just a second, so hang around for a little bit if you want. Brian's saying, did you ever nap during the day? I assume you're talking about in the Big Brother house. Yeah, a little bit, but they would call you out, and so I couldn't do it too much. I tell you where I napped a little bit. When I would go out into the backyard, everyone's laying around the pool and everything. I'd pull my hat down low, not this hat, my baseball cap. I'd have my sunglasses on with the mirrored lenses and all that, and I'd take some naps outside a little bit, and that worked a little bit better. The problem is I sleep like that, and sometimes I breathe a little deeply. Some people call it snoring. Well, that kind of gives it up when you start doing that. So Big Brother would call me up. But yeah, every once in a while I would sleep while I was in there. Some people, Holly, she seemed to sleep a lot during the day. Kat sometimes would sleep a lot during the day. Sis would try to. They'd always call her out as well. So people tried, but you weren't officially allowed to sleep during the day. So you had to be a little sneaky about it, which is probably why people wore hats and sunglasses inside the inside the house to some degree. Jeff Mertz is out here as well. Hey, Jeff, how are you doing? Jeff and I are best friends, best buddies. Jeff, myself, and my brother Robert lived next door to each other from forever, since we were about that tall. And so now Jeff's out in California, but Jeff's one of the first people I met when I got outside the Big Brother house. I was so happy to say, thanks. Welcome, Jeff. So anyway, I see Sue Hog Daddy in the Army. Ma remembers the stories. Yes, indeed. Speaking of, it is National Vets Day or Veterans Day on Thursday. So if we got time, we may talk about that just a little bit. Ma saying I want a frosted latte steamed to 102 degrees, cream on top, mint flavored with a cherry on top. Again, yeah, that's probably a pretty basic order compared to what some of these baristas see at Starbucks, right? I see some of those things on Twitter where people have just it's like a contest to see who can make the most exotic order that you could possibly imagine. Man, if I'm working at Starbucks, at the end of that, I'm just saying, you get coffee, you get some whipped cream, and yeah, here's your cherry. You tell me if I'm missing anything or not. I'd be horrible working at Starbucks. I would be trying to keep track of that. Yeah, that'd be a little bit tough. Janet saying, how do you get used to being watched 24/7? You know what? I thought that was going to be harder, Janet, than it was. I guess it's just because you don't have any choice except to be watched 24/7. And I realized going in that was going to be the case. I always watched the live feed, so I knew that the cameras were always on. It took a little bit in the shower, the bathroom. I assume the cameras weren't actually on, because who wants to watch that? But the showers, I made sure that I changed clothes inside the shower stall before going outside and all of that. And the biggest part for me getting used to it was actually sleeping, changing clothes into some sleep shorts, but then getting under that blanket, and it was hot in there. There are always times where it's like, well, do I want to pull all the sheets off and try to stay as cool as possible because it's warm in here? But then the camera zoomed in on my whole up and down body and all that. Or do I pull the sheets and blankets up to the very top so the cameras aren't really watching me as I'm rolling around and fidgeting and all that? So I think I did a little bit of both. But yeah, the cameras were weird because at night it got so dark in those rooms. I mean, when the main lights turned off, it just was pitch black. It was hard to walk around. It was hard to do anything. But there were infrared cameras in the room. And if you looked up, you could see just these very, very pale or very, just barely see them, but you could see these little red lights where they were sending out the infrared beams. So I knew the cameras were on me. And sometimes I'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. And again, it's pitch black, and I'm trying to very carefully maneuver my way around the room. And as I'm doing it, I can hear some of these cameras going, as they're turning towards me as I'm making my way across the room. And that's kind of creepy. Yeah, it does take some getting used to when you're the only person up. Like in the morning when I'd fix my coffee, and the cameras would follow me every step of the way as I fixed coffee, as I went into the boat room to do my cliff notes and all that. So yeah, it was kind of unique. But after the first week, you just don't even really think about it anymore. I kind of just forgot the cameras were there. You can't 100%. Yeah, you see them everywhere where you go. But after a while, you just don't worry too much about it. You just hope they're showing the good things that you want to be seeing, and they're ignoring the rest of it. So yeah, you get used to it. All right, let's see. What else do we have on here as well? I've got Anna Cano. Did you enjoy the latest episode of Survivor? It was crazy to keep track of all the advantages. Yes. Oh, what a crazy episode. For those of you who haven't done it yet, if you want, check out on my YouTube channel. I've got a little recap of last week's episode. For those of you who haven't watched it yet, I'm going to talk about it just a little bit. So spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about it. Give me about 3-4 minutes to talk about it. And then you can come back on. I don't want to ruin it for anyone because it was so exciting. All right, here we go. Spoiler alert. Yeah, I loved it. I knew that we were going to get time reversals, right? That some people were going to be up for elimination that didn't think they were up for elimination. But that whole tribal council, amazing, incredible. At one point, we all know kind of that Liana's planning to use that advantage, right? And we all know that she's planning to take it from Xander. So when Xander pulls it out of his belt, I thought, oh, what are you doing? Did the message just not get quite conveyed that she's going to use this and all of that? And so y'all know what happened. I don't want to spoil too much of it, but it's amazing. I guess it's I guess I got some sports going on as well. No, y'all didn't hear that, did you? No, I loved it. It was so incredible, the surprises, and even though I said spoiler, I still don't want to spoil too much. So I'll leave it alone a little bit. But no, I love the episode. I love the way that Survivor this season is. They're showing us something that happens that we aren't expecting, and then they go all the way backwards and they show us what had happened beforehand that led up to that moment. So it catches us, it surprises us a little bit more. We don't know as much going into these things as maybe we've known in past seasons, and I really like that. I like the surprises. I like the way the editing has changed for this season. So no, I love that episode. It was fantastic. I've enjoyed all season long. Now, having said that, there are a couple of twists in there that I feel are just a little bit too powerful. Right. I hate to see someone who thinks that they've done everything they are supposed to win protection, and then something happens that they have no control over, and suddenly they're vulnerable. And I know people say, "Oh, it's just a twist of the game and all that," but I feel like sometimes some of the advantages are becoming so powerful that it really subverts the game somewhat. So there's little things like that, but all in all, I absolutely love it. I've loved Survivor since season 1. Now they're on 41, and they haven't had a whole lot of seasons in between where I thought, kind of a dud this season. They're always on their toes doing new stuff. I'm ready for Big Brother to do some of that as well. I can see them throwing in some new twists and really changing the game up here and there, which I think would be fun as well. All right, Mark Taylor. At this point, who is the front to win Survivor? And my guess is a football player. Yeah, he's good. I'm afraid that that's Danny, right? And I'm afraid that Danny, being individual immunity at this point, I'm afraid someone's going to see him and know how athletic he is. And they may target him just because of that at some point a little bit further down the road. But I can see him. I can see him going a long way. My picks at the very beginning of the season. Who did I picked? Nasir. I also picked JD, who's gone. So Nasir, I don't know that he'll make it to the end, but I still like him. Just who he is and everything else. And I can tell he's passionate about everything he does, but sometimes he just feels a little lost out there when you watch it. He doesn't quite feel as connected with the rest of the tribe, and he's maybe talking to some people when he should be talking to other people. So Nasir is not playing a perfect game, but there's just something about that guy that I kind of enjoy watching him play. But who do I think is going to win? Yeah, I think Danny's a good choice. Chantel's been playing a heck of a game. Now, she's done one or two things that I've kind of said, yeah, I think there's a little screw up there, but she's playing pretty well. Ricard, he was not my winner's pick at the beginning, but he's going to be interesting as well. So, yeah, I got a few different picks on that. All right, let's see. What else? Cindy Hire saying you binge Squid Game. Well, I hope you're still hope you're still feeling okay and not just being all down in the dumps, depressed, because that show can kind of put you on a little level of feeling a little strange, right? So, hey, go drink some coffee and get wired up, get pumped up. Now, watch some Ted Lasso, was what I said last week. That'll completely flip you around a little bit. But now, well, congratulations. It was quite the series. It's amazing what we enjoy shows as people. It's something like Squid Game that is so dark, and yet I don't know. Maybe seeing the good parts of people and the bad parts of people helps keep us adjusted and feeling pretty good about where we are right now, right? All right, Amanda's saying, do you remember early Big Brother when house guests smoked? Oh yeah, I remember. Evil Dick smoked up a ton, right? And Ma saying Big D was a smoker who ran out of cigarettes. Yeah, I know. I that would be miserable. I know they had the earlier smokers, and the two that I always think of, one is Evil Dick, and he smoked a lot, and he burned Jen with a cigarette once, which nowadays, man, you're out the door in a heartbeat. I don't know how he got away with that back then. Different time, but I remember him smoking. And Jason Roy, y'all remember Jason? Was he was Big Brother over the top, but he was in one of the season as well, right? He smoked a lot. He brought in a bunch of cigarettes. I think he probably brought in more cigarettes than he did clothes. So yeah, they did a lot of that. I'm glad during our season we didn't have any smokers. And yeah, Big D smoked. He brought in some, but I guess they always told us when we went in, if you smoke, bring in as much as you want, but you're not getting any replacements. We're not going to buy any extra for you. You're not going to get any in your HOH baskets. Once you're done, once you're out, you're out. And they said, now we'll give you nicotine patches. We'll give you nicotine. I don't think we could get gum, but we'll give you all kinds of stuff to help you fight your addiction. So it was a good opportunity for people to stop. And I actually did ask Big D. I asked Derek after he got out, said, all right, you had a chance to stop smoking while you're in there. Did you, are you staying stopped? You aren't starting back up again now that you're out of the house, right? And I got kind of an answer about hitting a nightclub and maybe smoking a few cigarettes here or there, but I never got a definite answer. I think he may be at Hearts of Reality, and I'm probably going to give him a hard time about it. I'm looking forward to meeting him and the whole rest of the Big Brother 23 cast. I've seen that a whole lot of them are going to be at this thing, and I'm excited. I'm looking forward to meeting them. I'm also excited to meet. I talked to Kevin Schlober just by DMs over the weekend. He's going to be a brand new grandpa, so he's excited about that. And I asked him if he's coming to Hearts of Reality in Orlando in December, and he said, yeah, he is. So I'm looking forward to meeting Kevin and talking about what it's like being the old guy inside the Big Brother house, because he and I'm sure we've got some similar stories and experiences and everything else. I'm going to have fun hanging out with him a little bit as well. Amanda Lowe, are your kids planning their weddings? Oh, yes, indeed. They're planning them. Planning's gone well. It's well underway. So yeah, it's going to be exciting 2022. All right, let's see. What else do we have on here? I'm getting a little behind, but I'll try to catch up. Lori, did anyone see Xavier's Big Brother winner on The Bold and the Beautiful today? I didn't see. I forgot. I should have watched it on the episode. I saw a posting that he made where he, instead of The Bold and the Beautiful, I think he said The Bad and the Bald was his episode or something. He looked good. He's wearing a suit, and yeah, he was cut and looking. I have no idea what he played in the Bold and the Beautiful. I know when Jessica from my season was on there, I think she came in. She was supposed to be some kind of an event planner. Something was going on, so she came in and had a few lines about we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then she was out. I don't know what Xavier played, but yeah, he was looking pretty good. I have watched soap operas since forever. My grandmother, she was in love with Days of Our Lives. So are the Days of Our Lives. Every time we'd stay at my grandmother's, I got plenty of Days of Our Lives. Bo and Hope. I remember all that stuff about those soap operas. So we got that. All right, let me tell you a couple more little stories. I was going to tell you some coffee stories, so I'm going to tell you one and a half more. Told you about the first time I drank cappuccino, how much I loved it, how I still do. There's another coffee that I absolutely love. Oh, I enjoy it so much. First time I drank this, I was in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, in the Middle East. I was actually in the city of Abu Dhabi, which is one of the Emirates or provinces of the UAE. And I was having to visit an oil company there. We go inside, sit down with the person I'm talking to, and all of a sudden, this little kid comes by. He was probably 10, 12 years old, with a tray full of little bitty cups, which I thought were espresso at the time. Turns out they weren't espresso. They were Turkish coffee. I don't know if y'all have ever had Turkish coffee, if you've ever heard of Turkish coffee, but the idea behind Turkish coffee is that you don't use a filter. You just pour boiling water in with the coffee. You let it brew right there. And instead of ground coffee, well, it's ground coffee, but you grind it up so it is tiny. It's like talcum powder instead of the coffee grains like you see in the grocery store and all that. So it's like just the finest grain you can imagine. You pour the boiling water in there. You let it brew all together. And then when you drink it, it's got just kind of a cinnamon. It's super strong, but it also has a little earthy cinnamon taste to it. And you only drink about 80% of it because at the bottom is just a nice little film of sludge. And it's all those coffee grains that just stay at the bottom as you drink it. And they're bitter. You don't want to drink that. But the coffee boy would bring around the coffee for all of us. I'd get my little thing, and first time I drank, it's like, whoa, this is some strong concentrated coffee. And as soon as you'd finish, they'd make the rounds. They'd take up your glass. They'd bring you another one. Couple hours of meetings with that oil company. Next thing I know, I'm up for the rest of the day. I'm up for the next few days. So Turkish coffee is just incredible. It's like espresso, but it just has a lot more flavor to it and everything. But it's just very concentrated. So I love me some Turkish coffee, but you can't always find it in a lot of places. Over in the Middle East, I could find it everywhere. Not so much here in the United States. But kind of a funny story. I went up for the Big Brother boxing match in Arlington. What was that? In August, I guess. And I grew up in Arlington, so my mom is still up there as well. And so after the boxing match, the next night, my mom and I went and ate at a Lebanese restaurant. It's called Prince's Lebanese Grill, a Lebanese restaurant. It's in Arlington, Texas. If you're ever in Arlington, go to Prince's Lebanese. It is the best, absolute best food you could ever imagine. It's one of my favorite places. So we go there and eat and have big gyros and all of that. Well, I asked about Turkish coffee. It wasn't on the menu, but they said, yeah, it's not on the menu, but we can make some for you. And next thing I know, they've brought out not just a little cup of Turkish coffee. They've brought out an entire pot of this coffee with several glasses for us. And my mom had never had it before in her life. And she's not a big coffee drinker. But she says, okay, well, if you're going to have some, I'll have some. I said, well, yeah, I'm absolutely having some. So I start drinking mine. She takes it. The first sip she takes, she says, not really my thing. I'm not liking this at all. But then as she sat there for a second, she said, well, actually, that wasn't that bad. So then she starts drinking a little bit more. She made a little mistake. She drank a little too much and got a little bit of the coffee grounds at the bottom, which she learned her lesson on that. But next thing I know, maybe I drank half the pot of coffee, but not by much, because my mom finished off that pot. She the non-coffee drinker, fell in love with Turkish coffee as well. So we spent the rest of the evening just in this restaurant drinking coffee. And when we got done, went back home, bouncing around the house because now we're both so wired up on caffeine and all that. So we watched, of all the shows, we watched V for Vendetta. Have y'all ever seen that with Natalie Portman? Just incredible. Remember the 5th of November, which was just a few days ago, right? But yeah, all about Guy Fawkes and the trying to blow up Parliament in London. Really wild show if you've never seen it before. V for Vendetta. But yeah, so we stayed up all night long watching that, late into the night, all hopped up on Turkish coffee. And my mom saying it was great. See, I converted someone. I've got another fan of Turkish coffee, and hopefully some of y'all who maybe have never tried it, if you go into a Middle East or Mediterranean restaurant, ask if they've got Turkish coffee, because I think there'll be people that serve it. And Cindy Hire saying, yeah, it's really strong. It is absolutely strong. Again, it's a little bit like espresso, and it a little bit goes a long way, but it just has a real earthy taste that I really, really enjoy. So there you go. Y'all should know by now, when I'm really passionate about something, I probably talk even longer than I absolutely need to tell the stories. But yeah, my favorite thing about traveling all over the world doing the oil field stuff was the food and the drinks that I got to experience. Now, not all of it was great. Some of it, I need to tell y'all some stories about some of my travels to Africa and some other places where the food was a little different. But sometimes you just find one of these things, you're just like, oh my gosh, how did I go my entire life without ever having had this before? And that was the case with Turkish coffee. Mark saying, Taylor saying, is the UAE as beautiful as they say it is? Oh my gosh, it's incredible, but it's growing so much. There's the two big cities over there are Dubai and Abu Dhabi. There's some other Sharjah and some other spots, but especially Dubai. I haven't been over there in 15 years or so, and it's completely changed. Every time I would go over there, they have built half a dozen new buildings. It is incredible. And you go to the shopping malls there, and they have the most high-end. I feel like just walking in some of these places, it's like, wow, I couldn't afford anything in this store. Yeah, the fanciest possible, Tiffany's and Cartiers and Rolexes. Yeah, there's a lot of money going through Dubai. It's incredible, that place. But yeah, it's beautiful. When I went, the shopping mall and all, whatever. You see those anywhere. But I like to do walkabouts. I would just say, take me somewhere and drop me off. And I would just start walking around And I know one time I found they've got a gold souk in Dubai, which is incredible. As far as you can see, every direction they sell just pure gold. And it's mainly yellow gold, and it's just phenomenal. But I kept walking a little bit further, and I got into the spice souk, where it's just a whole bunch of, as far as you can see, they're selling all the different spices. It smelled so good. And then I took a little boat across the river, paid 2 cents or something to go across in this tiny little boat the way they used to do 100 years ago. Yeah, I love Dubai. And then as soon as you get outside the city, it's nothing but just sand. Sand dunes as far as you can see. So you see the new, but you also see the old as soon as you get outside the city limits. I love Dubai. It's an incredible place to visit. So yeah, if you haven't visited, try it. It's definitely a bucket list kind of destination to go to. Michelle Moore, why did you travel so much? All right, Michelle, I guess I've never really talked about why I traveled as much as I did. I didn't work for an oil company. I worked for a company that sold a lot of equipment to oil companies. And I was a specialist. It's called multilaterals. It's basically, instead of drilling a whole bunch of wells underground, I had a way where you would drill just one hole underground. And then when you got way down underground, then you'd have a whole bunch of spokes, like spokes of a wheel, go off different directions to produce a whole lot of oil, but only having one coming back to the surface. So that's kind of what I did. I was involved in selling that. I was kind of considered the world's expert in multilaterals. I wrote a whole bunch of technical papers, and there weren't a lot of people involved with it. So anytime anyone in the world wanted to, I've got a patent or two signed to my name and all that. So anytime someone was interested in this multilateral technology, they would contact our company, and usually it meant I was the one that would go out and do the work, go out and visit the client and either sell a job or explain how it worked. For a while, I was teaching classes. I would go out and spend 2 weeks in a location. I did that in Dubai once. For 2 weeks, I just stayed at a hotel and taught all about how this process works to everyone who wanted to pay money to attend the school. So I was a little school teacher back then as well. So no, since I was the world's expert, I just went everywhere and sold multilateral technology for the company I worked for. And the beauty about it was that, because some of these guys, when they work in the oil field, they go out and they'll work for a month or 2 months, and then they come back home. That's a long time to be gone, especially, wife and kids and sports and everything else. The way I normally would do it is I would travel somewhere on a Sunday. I'd be gone all week long, but then I'd come back for the weekend. Every once in a while, I'd have to spend a weekend somewhere and make it a 2-week trip. The longest I was ever gone, I was in Venezuela for 6 weeks when my wife was about 7 months pregnant. That was exciting. But for the most part, my trips were little week-long trips, a little bit longer. I'd go do my stuff, then I'd fly back home, and that's a great way. That's a great way to take care of business. I always try to make sure I had just a little time to go exploring a little bit. And as I said, sometimes someone would organize something. I'd go see something very specific, like the Great Wall of China or something like that. But sometimes I'd just say, I'm just going to go walking. And I would just start walking and just find stuff. Sometimes I'd find things I wasn't even aware existed. While I was in Dubai, I didn't realize there was a Russian section. I'm walking along, all of a sudden I find a McDonald's in the middle of nowhere, and everything's in Russian. Not Arabic, not English, Russian. It's like, did I just cross the border? And am I going to be able to get back home? Yeah, but no, just a little Russian segment of Dubai. So you never know what you're going to find. And that was the most fun part about my travels, along with the food and drink, which was incredible. All right, let me look through some of these comments because I'm busy talking and missing out on some of what y'all are saying. Let's see. We talked about Survivor. Talked about binge watching Squid Game. Let's see. Do you remember? And talked about smoking cigarettes. Yeah, it'd be so hard to be. And here's the other thing about being a smoker while I was thinking about it. Even if you bring all your own cigarettes in, we only were allowed outside 2 days a week. I hear people complain about being on an airplane where they can't smoke for 3 or 4 hours, and it drives them crazy. If you're a smoker and you can't go, you have to go 4 or 5 days in between smokes. I don't know how they do it. But I'm glad not just me, but that everyone else in our house was also not a smoker. There are some places, I talked about the Middle East. You go to the Middle East, everyone smokes over there. It blew me away at how many smokers there were. And so everywhere I would go, I'd get out of the office, just come home, that smell, that smoky smell. So yeah, I was glad we didn't have that in the house. Moss, going back to Survivor real quick. Moss and my original winner's pick was Liana. After last night, I don't know. Liana's playing well. All right, Janet Johnson. Who's your favorite Survivor player this season? Well, I think I talked about that a little bit before that. I don't know. I really like all of them. But here's what's funny. There are people who I didn't think I'd like that much early, just because they weren't someone who, if I was on Survivor, that I probably wouldn't feel the tightest connections with. And there's others who I thought, oh man, I would just fit in so well with them and do fantastic. And that's not necessarily matched up with what I'm seeing with the game itself. I mentioned Nasir. I just felt like he had such a great backstory. And again, I'm enjoy watching him play. Xander. I didn't think Xander was gonna. I mean, yeah, I don't know how he'll end up doing as well, but Xander certainly he surprised me a little bit as well. That's what I love about Survivor is the people who surprise you. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still, we're kind of in that mid game, right? Where there's people I like just because of their personalities. There's other people that I like because I feel like they're playing an amazing game. We'll see if the two of those meet up and there's one or two people who stand up for both reasons. And once that happens, that they're the ones that are my winner picks. All right, now Jan said, who's your favorite Survivor player? I may have said just for this season, but of all time, that's hard because there's so many good ones, right? I like people who have changed the game up. Remember Rupert was at Pearl Islands, I think, that they had to basically barter and bargain to get their supplies before they actually went to wherever they were cast away on. And Rupert took everyone's shoes from the other tribe and went and sold them to get a little extra food and money and everything else. I love Rupert. I thought Rupert was a lot of fun. Russell Hantz was kind of the anti-hero. He was as villainous as they come, but he was incredible TV to watch on the show. Same way with Johnny Fairplay. I remember the time I was like, oh man, I can't stand this guy. He's, how would you lie about your grandmother? And yet now you look back, think that's brilliant. He just changed the way. Season 2, I remember Colby was perhaps my very first person that I watched that I just really, I like Rudy from season 1 as well. So I don't know, the 41 seasons, how do you pick your favorites? But I just like the people that change the game up a little bit. Mike Holloway. I remember cheering for Mike because he was Oilfield. He worked out in the oil and gas. And so for that reason alone, I was going to cheer for him. And then he did pretty well. He won $1 million. I was going to say he's engaged. I think he's now married Meg from Big Brother. So those two reality worlds overlapping a little bit. I met them last in August at the Big Brother boxing match. Incredible people. Very, very nice people. It was great meeting them. All right, Ma. Arabic is scary because it's backwards and it's in an entirely different alphabet. Yeah, no, that's true. It's not. I can't say that I can speak it, and even the word or two I know, I would try and hear because I'd butcher it and people would get upset. But here's the hard part: is I don't speak German, I don't speak French, but at least I understand the numerals and things like that. You don't even have that with Arabic. They don't have our numerals. They're a bunch of slashes and things like that. And so even just basic things like being given my hotel room key and having to spend a lot more time finding out what room's mine because I'm trying to look at my key and match it up with the symbols I see on the doors. It's a tough language. I would love to learn to speak Arabic. It'd just be fun. But alas, there's a lot of languages I'd love to learn. Don't have enough years to do as many languages as I'd like, but Arabic would be one of them. Be kind of cool. But you're right, reading it backwards it makes it just a little bit more difficult, right? All right, Michelle saying, did you watch Dexter yesterday? I have never watched Dexter ever. I mean, I know all about it. You hear about it. It's culturally, cultural phenomenon and all that, and I feel like I know a lot about it, but I've just never actually watched it. So, as I say about so many of these shows, put it on the list. I'll add it on and try to watch it at some point. Now, Paula says, do you watch Yellowstone? Yes and no. I am so far behind. I've watched the first season or two, and that's it. And I need to get caught back up because the episodes I watched, I really enjoyed. I mean, it's good. And there's some people wearing some cowboy hats. I feel like, I can relate to some of the people and situations and things like that. So, yeah, I'm way behind on Yellowstone as well. And God, and every time I think about that, or every time I hear someone talk about how great it is, it's yet again, add it to the list. So now I'm going to, because I have watched a little bit of it, and I enjoyed those episodes I watched. I like those shows that have a lot of politics, and intrigue, and backstabbing, and all that. Now, in the old days, we used to have another show like that I watched a little bit. My family certainly watched it, and it was called Dallas. Yeah, it was a little bit like Yellowstone. It was all about betrayals and conspiring and all that. Just a little bit different setting, a little bit different time period as well. But yeah, it's I need to watch Yellowstone. All right, let's see what else we have on here. So I look through here. Let's see. Fun fact, Dallas. Yeah, I had to. And my let's see. We'll talk about some other stuff. Yeah, I'd love to learn more languages. I speak survival Spanish. I mean, I can go in. I've had long conversations with people. I haven't practiced as much as I used to, but I would feel comfortable getting thrown in with people who speak zero English, and being at least able to ask questions, survive, and do everything I need to do that. And so as a result, I also speak just a little bit of Portuguese, because there's some similarity between the two. But I need to practice a lot more. My mom, she does Duolingo. And I've tried it before. I'm just not disciplined enough. She does it, and she's getting really good at it. So maybe I need to pick that up as well. I'd like to go out there and find. Well, a quick little story for you. One company I worked for, an international company, when I traveled overseas and all that, we had on our profiles within this website of company, the employee directory, listed all the languages that we spoke, a little bit, a whole lot, everything else. And I remember one time, me and a couple other guys were looking through that list, and we realized that there was only one person in the whole company, tens of thousands of people. There's only one person who spoke this one particular language that we'd never even heard of. Well, it turns out it was some tribal language in Africa or somewhere. And we thought, well, and we looked at this guy's profile, and he was located up in Canada or somewhere. We said, there's no way this guy speaks that language. Let's see if he does or not. So we called him up on the phone and said, look, we are so glad we found you, because we have a huge oil and gas client. They are ready to bring in rigs. We're going to make $10 million on this client. The problem is he only speaks Zuzababubu language, whatever it was. And we found that you speak the language. You are going to be our new representative. You've got to sell a job to this guy. It's going to be phenomenal. We need to get you on the plane immediately, and there'll be bonuses involved. It's incredible. And then we got to listen to this guy kind of, I hadn't, I don't really speak it that well. You speak it better than anyone else, so let's do it. And finally he said, no, I just put that down there as a joke. I didn't think anyone would ever actually come to me wanting to speak that language. And at that point he said, yeah, we know. We're just having fun with you and all. So yeah, but you never know. I would have been impressed, and he could have just said anything, and I wouldn't have known. He could have said, yeah, well, yeah, I speak it, blah, blah, blah. And we said, oh, okay, well, it fool us. So there you go. All right. It's Michelle saying, do you watch Wipeout? Yeah, Michelle, I watch Wipeout. Not only do I watch Wipeout, I've also watched Wipeout Australia. Apparently they have the same show over in Australia, and they do the same things. And I found that online a little bit. I watch a lot of Australian reality TV for some reason. So yeah, we love Wipeout. Now, I gotta say, I kind of like the old seasons of Wipeout more so than the kind of the revamped season they've had. I can't think of the actors' names at this point in time, but yeah, I like Wipeout. I don't know what is it about watching people crash and fall and crash in the walls and all that we enjoy so much. I kind of like it though. Yeah, I definitely have spent many a night watching Wipeout and Impractical Jokers. I love Impractical Jokers. I love watching people having to embarrass themselves. You watch Impractical Jokers, and someone has to go into a buffet restaurant and take food off of other people's plates. Amazing, those people don't just get beaten up or thrown out the front door or whatever. But yeah, I really like him. If you don't watch Impractical Jokers, how could you not watch it? Because it's on True TV, and it seems like they show it 23 out of every 24-hour days. It's on all the time. So go out there and find it. I think I've seen every episode, but I watch them 2 or 3 times. It's still funny. Amanda's saying, do you get recognized when you go out in your town? Yeah, it's funny, Amanda. I do, not all the time, but you never know. It's just kind of a sometimes. I at one point, just I don't know, just a couple of days ago, I was eating lunch with my wife and daughter at a Mexican restaurant. You kind of forget about it. I'm just sitting there eating, not worrying about it. And all of a sudden, a woman comes up to me and she said, "Hey, excuse me, excuse me." Yeah, yeah. She says, I know you from somewhere. I know you from somewhere. And she looked at me for just a second before I even had a chance to answer. She said, "Your big brother Cliff." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I am." And so I went over and I talked to her. And all of a sudden, the woman at the table next to her said, "Oh, I thought you were coming to yell at me because I've been staring at you the whole time." And so yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's not like I'm Tom Cruise and I can't walk down the street without paparazzi following me or anything like that. I'm way down on the list, but no, it's so much fun because it happens, and sometimes I'm not really. I'm thinking about this stuff. I'm thinking about the client I'm getting ready to go see, or what am I going to pick up at the grocery store on the way home, or something like that, and all of a sudden someone comes up to me and they're excited, and then I get excited because I love talking about Big Brother, and I know I've told y'all before. If you ever see me anywhere and you recognize me, come say hi, and I'm going to be upset if you don't, because I just love talking to other reality TV fans. It's just a good chance for me to sit down and I'll always answer any questions they have. And yeah, so I do get recognized. It's not like I'm just walking down the street and people are holding up signs saying, "Oh my gosh, look who's coming by." But yeah, pretty much every time I go out, there'll be someone that recognizes me. And sometimes I just see someone holding up their phone, kind of pointing it at me, pretending like they aren't or something, and that's fine too. But what's funny is sometimes, yeah, you get up in the morning, you got to go down and get gas at the gas station or something. And it's not like I'm going to worry about getting all dressed up and everything. I just want to go down and do it. But I know Sharon always said, "Oh, you never know. Make sure you're not wearing your old ratty t-shirt or something when you go outdoors." So if you ever see me in a ratty t-shirt, still come up and say hi, because I don't mind. You saw me inside the Big Brother house wearing sleep shorts and nothing else. So at this point in time, what does it matter, right? Now, I love getting recognized. I love getting to talk about reality TV with everyone out there. It's the cool part of this experience that I hadn't really thought that much about before I went on the show. But I love every bit of it. So yeah, I do, and it's neat. Uh, Cindy saying, "Have you seen the new season of Doctor Who?" No, I haven't watched Doctor Who that much. I don't. I mean, I go out there to BBC America and some of the, and I'll watch an episode here or there, but I don't necessarily follow it enough that I can follow the entire plot and understand all the backgrounds and all that. I know what Daleks. I mean, I kind of know some of the nomenclature and things that happen in Doctor Who, and the phone booths that, but I'm not I'm not. I haven't watched it through and through, and so it's kind of just I don't record it. I just, when I'm out there going through the channels, if I see it, I love science fiction. I probably ought to watch it more because I think I'd enjoy it. But yeah, if I see it on, usually I'll stop and watch it. And I gotta say, Doctor Who sometimes is it's a little bit like Lost in Space. Y'all remember the old show, with Dr. Smith and Will and Will Billy. I don't remember what the kid's name was, but where it's fun science fiction, but sometimes, well, even the original Star Trek, it's fun science fiction, but sometimes the sets, the special effects are just a little hokey, and that almost makes it more fun. That you see, it's kind of low budget type everything, but that's fun as well. So yeah, I love anything science fiction. I told y'all last week I was watching Foundation, and I just got behind, had too much stuff going on. I haven't gotten caught up on that yet, but yeah, Foundation, Dune. We talked Wheels of Time's coming out. Expanse is getting into their final season. Suddenly, there's so many science fiction shows I can't keep up with all of them. So I don't know. It's yet again add it to the list. All right, Paula Scar. So, have you ever thought of writing a book on reality TV? I don't know. Yeah, that would be kind of fun. I don't know. I mean, I certainly feel like I could talk about Big Brother experience to some degree. But the other ones, strategies and all that, I don't know. I feel like if I wrote a story about Survivor, for example, or Amazing Race, that people would call me out and say, well, you weren't out there. How do you know this? Oh, why would, I don't know. You know what I'd like to do? There's two things I'd like to do before I wrote about strictly reality TV. One, I've started writing about my travel stories and things like that, and trying to keep track of it all, because I do think there's a lot of things I've done just in terms of travel, not reality TV, just travel in general, that are kind of cool stories. So I've started doing that, and probably there should be a chapter in there about reality TV as well, since I did Big Brother, right? So maybe that's one goal. If I was to write strictly about reality TV, though, you know what I'd like to write about? Not what we saw in front of the camera and the strategy and all of that, because Lord knows there's 400 different podcasts talking about all that and everything. I'd like to somehow be behind the scenes, and maybe that means I wouldn't be the right person, but I would love to see someone write a story about what it was like to be a cameraman or a producer on Survivor and The Amazing Race and Big Brother, and hear the stories about the people that weren't in front of the cameras but were behind the cameras. Because I picture Amazing Race. I can only imagine the stories you could hear from people trying to book airfares or trying to save some person whose car broke down while there were raging elephants coming at them or something. There've got to be things like that that would be a lot of fun. I really look forward to potentially getting to just sit down with some of those people here and there. There's a few cameramen that film Big Brother and such that I've talked to, and unfortunately, I can't get them to give me a lot of secrets because no one wants to get in trouble. But maybe somewhere, hopefully not till I'm in my 80s or 90s or something, before Big Brother goes away. But at some point, if Big Brother ever stops being a show, I'd love to at that point say, okay, open the box up. Let's hear all the secrets, because I want to hear all the background that I maybe didn't hear about. So yeah, I'd love to write a book. Now here's a little story for y'all. What time? 7:50 there. I can tell y'all real quick. When I auditioned for Big Brother, I've told y'all before, I didn't do a video. I just did a casting call, right? I just showed up. And after I did that, I got contacted later, and I can't go into a lot of details, but I got contacted later, and I said, Cliff, come down. We'd love to talk to you a little bit more. And while you're coming down, you got to fill out the application, which if you go out to the CBS.com website, it's a long application. So I stayed up all night filling that stuff out and getting ready. I go to talk a little bit more as part of the tryout process, and I have my application, but I also had written down all my travel stories. I'd already, before I ever did try out for Big Brother, I'd already tried to go in and write out a lot of travel stories. And a lot of them I had kind of written a lot more descriptions. Some of them were just headlines, and that was it. But I printed all of that out. So before I talked to the casting people, I would have a lot of these stories to kind of remind me. So if something came up, I could throw out some story in, because that was what I was pushing, is, I'm a storyteller. And so I had this long list of all these different stories, and it was in with my application. And at the end of my little interview with them, I forgot. They just say, is this your application? Yeah, that's it. They say, okay, well, thank you. Have a great day, Cliff. Maybe we'll talk to you later, maybe not. Yeah. And so they took that, but they also had that list of stories that I didn't plan to leave with them, but I did. And I always wondered, and I suspect that may have had something to do with me getting to continue the process. I wouldn't be surprised if someone didn't pull it out and see all these stories and say, oh my God, this guy maybe does have some stuff he can talk about. So it wasn't intentional, but I think it worked to my benefit. So yeah, maybe someday I'll just put them all down in a big old long book, and chapter 21 can be my Big Brother experience as well. How does that sound? All right, Moss says, would love to hear what it would be like to be a Survivor cameraman and having the players try to pretend they aren't there. Yeah, I know. Wouldn't that be strange? I've always wondered, are the cameramen like right here in your face, or are they back up 10 feet with telephoto lenses or something? I don't know, because for Big Brother, we didn't see them. They were all behind the window, so we didn't really notice them. But yeah, the cameramen out there, and how strange to be a cameraman where you see these people, you're filming 8 hours. I don't know how their schedules work, but you're filming these people. They're starving. They've got their insects biting them everywhere. They're kind of miserable. They're stressed out and everything. You get done with your shift, and then you go back to whatever fancy place they're keeping them, and you're eating pineapple boats and lobster salads, whatever they do to feed the folks there. There's probably some cameraman saying, "Yeah, you think they feed us like that? We get bologna sandwiches," but it doesn't matter. to get to go back and to shower every night and to sleep in a nice, comfortable bed and get as much food as you want and everything. It's got to be a weird situation to see people there suffering, and then you get to go over and just kind of take a break every once in a while. I don't know. Yeah, I'd love to talk to a cameraman as well. So if there are any cameramans for reality TV that are watching my podcast, reach out to me. I can keep a secret. I won't say a word. I just would love to hear a few stories here and there. All right, Noela Baez, you should watch Made. It is really good. You are not the first person who's told me that. I've heard several people over the last few weeks who have said that. So, all right, I'll check it out. It's I'll kind of say I don't know anything about it other than the title, but I've had so many people tell me that. Isn't that amazing? We have got so many channels, so many of these streaming services, so much stuff to watch. Lord, if I thankfully we had them during quarantine, right, where we were all locked away and had nothing to do. During quarantine, I got caught up with everything. I got to the end of the internet and had to go back and start over again. It feels like nowadays that I've got a 9-to-5 job and so much else is going on, a little tougher to stay caught up. But I always welcome the recommendations, just suggestions y'all make, because there's so many undiscovered gems that I've discovered because of y'all out there. So if I haven't said it before, let me say it right now. Thank you for all the suggestions, because it's amazing some of the stuff out there that I would never heard of. Ted Lasso was one of them. I didn't know anything about it until y'all kept talking about it. So I appreciate the input and the feedback and everything else. So it's funny. I know some of y'all don't have quite as many years on you as I do, but I can say that I remember back in 1981, was it? Maybe 1980 when we got MTV at my house for the first time. And that was revolutionary. The whole idea that instead of just getting like a 30-minute American, or I think it's an hour long, but we had an hour long of American Bandstand or Solid Gold was on Sunday afternoons, where you got to listen to the greatest hits and watch these cheesy dancers dancing to all the routines on. That was it for TV and music, except for Hee Haw and the Lawrence Welk Show, but that was for a different crowd as well. But suddenly MTV comes along and you got 24 hours a day of music videos. That's back when they played music videos on MTV. And instead, I'm not gonna dig on the challenge or drag the challenge because I love it. But MTV's moved out into a whole lot of different things as well. But yeah, nothing but music videos. Man, back in the days of Duran Duran and Bon Jovi and it's amazing. Back the Go-Go's who just made it into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I wore out my Go-Go's album. They were my favorites back then. There were a lot of favorites. I've said before I love country western for hanging out, for dancing and all that, but I like my rock and roll and my 80s music as well. So let's see, what else do we have on here? Anyone remember Jerry from Big Brother 10? I know I bring him on a lot. I love him too, Ma. Jerry actually lives not too far from me. He's maybe 45 minutes or so north of me, just north of Houston. But he doesn't really have anything to do with Big Brother reality TV. So I feel like it would I've always wanted to reach out to him and go say hello or something, but I almost feel like it's a little intrusive to do it because he hasn't shown any indication that he wants any involvement. So I've never done it, but I'd love to. I would have loved to have the opportunity to meet with Jerry, and maybe I will get the chance somewhere down the road. Yeah, I loved watching Jerry. Jezebel, Jezebel. He was a lot of fun. All right, Myra Garcia finally made it to Cliff Notes Live. Well, Myra, thank you. I'm glad you made it. I was waiting for you. It's 8:00, but I wasn't going to shut down till I made sure that you were here. Now, I'm happy to have you here. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support. I absolutely do. Ms. Peanut Phantom, American Bandstand. Yeah, I still know the music. And then you listen to Casey Kasem's Top 40 on the radio as well to keep up on, because you had to listen to it, because otherwise when you went to high school or junior high the next day, you didn't know what music you were supposed to be talking about and what everyone else is going to be talking about. So we would all watch it. That was back in the day when Solid Gold, American Bandstand, Saturday Night Live was still on TV, still funny on TV. And a whole different era back then. All right, let's see. Joshy. We got to shut this down, but I'll do this. Joshy says, have you been watching Big Brother VIP? Well, Joshy, funny you should mention that. I mentioned that I wanted to watch it. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's basically Celebrity Big Brother, but for Australia. There's 11 people. At least it's starting with 11 people, 11 celebrities. Most of them I don't know. Rugby players, models, influencers from Australia. But they do have Meghan Markle's half-brother, who doesn't have a whole lot of good things to say about Meghan Markle. Omarosa, who doesn't have a whole lot of good things to say about Donald Trump. And Caitlyn Jenner, who doesn't have a whole lot of good things to say about Omarosa. Those are the three that are, I don't know if Meghan Markle's half-brother's American or not, but those are the three that I recognize that we kind of know more than the local Australians. But yeah, they've had, I think there's 4 episodes out there. So I had a heck of a time finding it. I just couldn't find anywhere to watch it on YouTube or anywhere else. I finally found one site that I'm not going to give you the name out here because I noticed the country prefix was Somalia. I don't feel real comfortable watching feeds from Somalia, but I did watch some of the first part of Big Brother VIP from this particular site. If you want to Google it, do it, but just make sure all your antivirus stuff's up to date. I'm just saying. But I've watched part of it. I'm not caught up. It's interesting. It truly is interesting. They're staying in a hotel instead of a Big Brother house. It's basically a house, but no, it's kind of cool. They've got their own version of Big Brother who's much more interactive than our Big Brother. Our Big Brother just came on to say stop singing or things like that. Mainly, we interacted with Julie Chin Moonves instead. But this Big Brother over in Australia is very interactive with them. It's been good so far. So yeah, Josh, I've been watching it, but I'm not caught up yet. But I will be, and we may talk about that some more. All right, guys, that's it. We got to shut down. The hours always go so fast, but thank you for coming out here. For those of you watching on repeat, thank you as well. I do appreciate it. For those of you who haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button. Make it that much easier to get your updates, know when I'm coming on the air and all that. It also let you get updates when I drop my Survivor episodes. So thank you so much. I'm loving Survivor. So if you haven't checked that out, this is an hour long. The Survivor, I'm trying to keep it to 30 minutes. Last week, there's so much that went on. I did 40, but I tried to make it nice and sweet just to talk about what I really enjoyed about Survivor. So y'all check it out. I appreciate that. Hit the like button if you would as well. I always appreciate that. It makes me all feel kind of warm and fuzzy when you do it. So thank y'all so much. So let me finish up with, as I always do, big old SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids, love all of y'all out here, and just love doing this show. So thank you for letting me do it, because yes, I could talk by myself, even if there wasn't anyone out there, but that'd be kind of boring and just not nearly as much fun. I love the interaction. So thank y'all so much. It wouldn't be the show it is without y'all out there. So thank you. Have a great rest of the week. National or Veterans Day is on Thursday. So if you know any vets, please give them a hug. Tell them thank you for everything they've done. We don't have that many World War II veterans left, but unfortunately we got a lot of vets from wars past then. So give them hugs and tell them thank you for everything else. Guys, y'all have a great one. I'll talk to y'all Wednesday when we do Survivor. If not, next Monday. Until then, cheers, my friends. Bye.